What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be working on trying to get the motor pulled out of the giveaway car, and I got a solution, or I have a plan I should say, to what I'm going to do about it. So everybody in the comment section pretty much said that they want a turbo GSR, so I've been thinking about it, and recently I had sold my Tahoe to Stumpy. Well, we did a trade with some cash on top type deal. So he traded me his shell and like $700 for my Tahoe, and I picked this Suburban up for like $1,000, and all I really needed was a transmission. So I got a transmission for it for like 150 bucks, put it in, put some wheels on it with some good tires that I got for like 500 bucks, and I've been mobbing this thing ever since. Probably like the best purchase that I've made so far. Super comfortable ass car. I can pack my whole family in here, which is really what I bought the Suburban, what I bought the Tahoe for. But unbeknown to me, I didn't know that the barn door style Tahoes didn't have a third row seat, or it didn't have third row seat capability. So I mobbed around in that for a while, and I was like, man, I really need a Suburban. I really need a Suburban. So got me a Suburban. So now that I have Stumpy shell, what I'm gonna do with it is I have a few motors that I have laying around. I'm just gonna throw a motor in there, sell it, and then put the funds from that sale towards the Hippo. I know everybody, well, a few people in the comment section was like, hey, why don't you just fix that for cheap and sell it and put the money into the Hippo? Well, now you know my plan, so you shut the fuck up. So we're gonna go, I got some oil and shit to drain that I've been having sitting around the house for a couple of years now, and oil drain containers. Well, not oil drain containers, but like I'll change oil in the car into a drain bucket, and then I'll pour the oil that I took out the car into the like Rotella thing that I got. So I'm gonna go to the shop, drop all the dump all this oil out, throw the cans away and shit. I gotta pick up 2 drain pans because I have one that's full. I know it's gonna take 2 drain pans to drain transmission fluid and oil out of both cars. I need to pick up my Milwaukee 1/2 inch. I think that's about it. So when I get to the shop, I'm gonna explain what I've got planned for the GSR car, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, so back here at the shop, got the oil drained out, and we're gonna be talking about the motor that's gonna be going in the giveaway car. So I was going to, so my original plan before I got this car was to get a 4-door Honda Civic, and I just wanted to, back in the day I had a really cool, well, not really cool, it was like really quick 4-door Honda Civic, and it was like an LS VTEC car, and it evolved into some retarded shit, and end up like getting rid of the car because I went through some financial problems. So I wanted to get that car. Well, I wanted to get a 99 2000 Civic. I had a piston and rod motor that needed pistons, and I picked up a set of pistons for $100 that I was just gonna throw together, and I bought a built LS head, well, B18 LS head, and some cams and stuff, and I was just gonna put a simple setup together to turbo it and put it in the car and just daily drive it, just some shit to beat around with. But then I ended up getting a deal on that GSR, but it was supposed to be a running motor, but ended up being knocking. So I've been thinking all weekend about what I could possibly do to the quickest way I can get the car to back running. So I was like, well, I do have this rotating assembly here, I have a good crank, and the GSR block is not windowed, so it's still good. So I can just clean the GSR block out. I can put an LS crank in here, and LS, these, I have a set of Eagle rods, and these pistons are shit. There's some Wiscos, but I have another set of Wiscos over here in my toolbox that are some flat tops, and they're still good, and they have good rings on them. So I was just gonna throw those in the GSR, and then you guys have a piston and rod GSR setup, which would be a whole lot better than having some stock shit that you could possibly grenade. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm just gonna pull the motor out of the Integra. I'm gonna pull the motor out of Stumpy's car, old car, and the Integra, and I'm gonna come up with a plan on how I'm gonna take the head off of it first and go send it off to get it decked, and then I'm gonna pull the block out. Just make sure it's straight. Most of the time, if it didn't blow, a head gasket's normally straight. I just normally like to deck the head so the head gasket has a good seal. I'm gonna clean the block out, send it to the machine shop, get it washed, and then I'm gonna assemble the block, because this motor, it burnt a piston, and it was an 81.5 millimeter piston. So I ended up getting some standard bore pistons, so I could still use that GSR. So because this motor is standard bore too. That motor was freshly built, but it had an injector failure, and that's why I melted the piston. So what I'm gonna do is just take those rods off, put on those pistons, put the LS crank in the GSR block. It'd be kind of like a mini stroker is what they call it. The LS B18 non-VTEC motor has a higher stroke than a GSR. GSR one's typically good for like revving the shit out of them, but you can do the same thing on the LS. So I already have some decent parts over here for it. I have a GMB water pump, the HD timing belt, new idler pulley, cam seals, and oil pump seal. But I got a ACL oil pump, which has it's like a HD billet gear inside of it, and I think they're shimmed and ported. I'm not sure, but I know they work really well. I use them a lot on a lot of customer builds, and they have zero issues out of them. So I'm gonna be using that. So the motor be fresh. I already have a head gasket here because I ordered one for the LS setup, the B18 setup. Oh no, I gotta reorder it because fuck is it? Yeah, it's for a non-VTEC motor. Ooh, damn. All right, well maybe I can use it on another setup. Yep, non-VTEC setup. Oh, I just ordered another head gasket. That'll be all right. I ordered another head gasket for GSR. I know I can get those pretty decent. Actually, no, I have a GSR head gasket back there. Damn, fucking savings. But I got a lot of shit laying around to put the car together, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just use what I have. I have head studs, have an oil pump, I have GSR time belt, all that shit to put the car together. So maybe if I assemble a motor this week, I can have the car running next weekend. So we can drive it around for a little bit, break the motor in, and then I'll send it off to paint. And then after that, we'll start building a turbo kit. I do have the turbo manifold back here. It's a little Rev 9 ram horn. Looking at a couple different turbo options right now from VS Racing. They have a 5852 turbo, which would be super good because it will give you guys a quick spool and you can get in and out of traffic pretty easy with it, and it won't be super laggy. I feel like 6262 would be a little bit overkill for what I'm achieving to do with this car, because the car will be on pump gas, which is 93, and I know I call E85 pump gas too, but it'll be on 93. So whoever comes and wins the car and picks it up, they can drive it home, drive wherever the hell they want to. All right, guys, back at the house now. Got the hood popped on the damn EK coupe, and I'm about to open the trunk to start taking some of the parts off, put them in the trunk, and then I'm gonna pull the swap out, and then we're gonna move this car to where the integra is, and then start pulling a swap out of it. Well, pull the integra here and pull a swap out of it. guys, so got the motor pulled out. It was a bitch because I haven't used my cherry picker in a while, and I guess all the fluid just wouldn't pump up inside of it, so it kept down. It would only pump up to like right here if you look in the at the time lapse. So I had to pretty much like lower the car down on top of the cherry picker and slide the cherry picker from underneath the car with the motor resting on the radiator support, and then jack the car up some and shimmy the motor out from off the radiator support to get it out. But I got it out. I already got it loaded up in the Suburban. I'm going to start this, move it over here, and then push this car over here, and then back the Integra up into the carport and start pulling that out. All right, so original plan was to pull the head off while I was in the car, but I'm probably not gonna have enough time because I'm about to run out of daylight. North Carolina, it gets dark around 5 o'clock. I believe it is, yep, 3 o'clock now. So I got 2 hours before it's dumb dark out here to pull this thing out. And like I said before, like this car is virgin, pretty much virgin. The only thing he did was like unhook the AC lines, put the header on in the exhaust and the suspension. But other than that, the ball joints are probably going to be a bitch to take off, and I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna work around that. So let me go ahead and start taking this off. I gotta take the strut bar off so I can get the motor out the top and unhook the fuel lines, the header, the radiator, all that shit, and it should come out. It should take me less time to pull it out than this Stumpy's car because I don't have to pull a turbo kit off. But as you know, when a 10-minute job turns into a 10-hour job, it's pretty much my life. So let me go ahead, start knocking this thing out, and I'll catch up with you guys later. All right, so got the header off, got the shift linkage off. I got both axles about pulled out. I just have to take the cotter pin off and the not the axle nut, but the castle nut off the bottom of the control arm, and then we should be able to pull the motor out. Maybe taking this transmission apart also. So yeah, like I was saying, camera battery just died. I may end up taking off not taking off, but taking the transmission apart, because when I pulled it out, like a quart of fluid came out. So just want to make sure I give you guys a good product when whoever wins the car, that they won't have any issues with the transmission or the motor or anything with the chassis. So I'm just going over everything to make sure that everything's 100% solid before I give this car away. So let me go ahead and get underneath the car, start taking these ball joints out, and then we pull the motor out, separate it from the transmission. I'm gonna put this motor in the truck, the Suburban, and then I'm gonna unload both motors tomorrow when I get to the shop. Then I'm gonna come back. When I come back home, I'm gonna put the transmission in there, and I'm gonna take it to the shop. My goal is to try to get this motor built by the new motor in and built by the weekend, and have it running. So that would be great. I feel like I have everything to do it, and if I take like 2 hours out of my day, or I can work on it on one night and like throughout the entire night, and just get it back together, and then on the weekend I can get it running. That would be great. I really don't have a lot of time to work on it this week, and for all the people that think, oh, it takes you this long, well, it doesn't take you that long to work on a Honda. Why don't it take that long to work on everybody else's car? Well, this shit is easy. I'm not trying to work on something that's like really tight and really crammed or something like that, or something that I don't work on every day. Whereas I've been working on Hondas for like the last 13 to 14 years, and I know every nut and bolt where everything is going to be at. Most of the shit that I work on at the shop is either fairly new to me, or I haven't worked on it before, or I'm taking my time to work on it so that somebody gets back a good product. Where this, I already know the ins and outs and the shortcuts and shit that I can do to make my job easier when I do pull these motors out and put them back in and put them together to make them last and make them work. So, like I said before, just go ahead and put the shit, pull the shit out and then get in the Suburban. I'm gonna end this video out and try to get it edited so I can post it up on. All right, got the motor out. I started washing it off again because it apparently that header has a leak in between the two where it merges together, so it had soot and shit all over the block. So I tried to pressure wash that shit off as much as I could. I don't have shit to scrub it with, so it's whatever. So I'm just gonna put on the engine stand and I just scrub it off with brake cleaner and a damn wire brush. But I had a bunch of oil residue and shit on the subframe, and I cleaned that off also. I am gonna delete the ABS, gonna delete the AC, but I'm gonna try to keep power steering if a boomer wins the car. ABS on this car doesn't really work, I should say. Like, these cars are so damn old. ABS technology back then was just being introduced, so it was pretty much just trial and error. So this shit will still lock the wheels up if you press the brake really hard. If you need to, you know, stop really fast, it won't like pulse the brake. Don't have a AC power steering manifold, and the AC power steering manifold is designed to keep the wastegate from basically pushing itself into the damn into the condenser. But I am doing a dual core single radiator from like a Honda Civic, so that should free up a lot of room in the engine bay also. So I'm gonna mock it up on the engine stand with a turbo and the the manifold, and like an AC compressor or something, to see if I can clear like the downpipe and all that shit with the non-power steering, with a non-AC power steering manifold, and maybe it should work. If it doesn't, then oh well, you got yourself a nice ass street car still anyway. You don't have to have AC to have a street car. But other than that, I'm just gonna go ahead and split the transmission from this motor, go ahead and load the motor up in a Suburban, and then I'll make another video of me tearing this motor down and going through assessing the damage, and we'll start assembling the new motor. And I'm gonna also do spring retainers in this head, well, aftermarket spring retainers in this head, and I should have some Type R cams laying around. If I don't, GSR cams will work just as well. I know people that make 800 horsepower on stock GSR cams. So other than that, that's all I got for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope you're excited for the build. And always, comment, like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next upload.